CORNWALL CLUB on Coast FM. Hello, good evening, it's me, Ben. Very well, welcome back to CORNWALL CLUB here on Coast FM. Thanks for joining us. Now, I'm just going to warn you, the playlist tonight is looking, well, amazing, okay? That's a promise, actually, this time. Mainly because I haven't chosen the music. I've left that down to my fantastic guests this evening. Now, on the topic of guests, who have I got? I've got a few that I think really going to excite you. So, do we have any fans of the talk show Loose Women? I'm sure we do. And what about EastEnders? Yeah, we must do. Well, I'm very pleased then to give you some good news, and that is that we've got the fantastic Nadia Sawalha on the show. Nadia she's actually been on the show with us before, so I'm very pleased. Welcome back to Nadia. Now, today she's going to be talking about wellness and body image and sort of achievable fitness goals. Now, she's talking alongside Holly Rubin. Holly is a psychotherapist, body image specialist, and she's a mental health practitioner based in London. So Holly and Nadia, they're going to be talking a little bit about this. A very warm welcome to you both. Absolutely fantastic to have you with us. We've also got another doctor this week. This is Dr. Emeka Okorocha is joining us this week. Now, he's a London-based doctor. He's been working on the front line. He has a huge following on TikTok, and he's been on numerous TV shows, for example, BBC's Junior Doctors Blood, Sweat and Tears. And here's something that will pique your interest. Not only is Dr. Okorocha, of course, a doctor, but he's also third in line to the throne in his province in Nigeria, where his paternal grandfather was king. So yeah, we've got a Nigerian prince as well as a doctor on the show. He was actually nicknamed Prince, apparently, when he was younger, and that's stuck. So I can't wait for you to hear interview with Dr. Okorocha. And finally, we've got a local vet who's based right here in Cornwall. He's based in Penryn. He's been on the show with us on Coast FM a while back, actually. He joined me in the studio to chat all about his life as a vet here in Cornwall. This is Matt Thomas of Cornish Paws, based in Penryn. I got Matt actually to come on. I asked him to give us a bit of an update on what's going on in his practice at the moment and what life is like at the moment as a vet. Now, he's going to be a regular returning guest in the coming weeks where he can give us quick updates. So if you are a proud pet owner, hopefully this should come as great news to you because you'll get an update direct from a vet for you. So I'm very pleased to bring you a first appearance, or reappearance, I should say, of Matt on the show tonight. He's armed with an excellent song request as well, as are all of the guests. Now, as always, if you'd like to pop in a song request, or if you'd just like to comment on the show or join in any way, please do. Just pop me an email on cornwallclubradio@gmail.com. But I think that's enough chat for me for now. Let's kick this show off then. I'm officially declaring this show started. And let's begin by welcoming Dr. Emeka Okorocha to the show. And now, as always, of course, this show can't replace any medical advice that you need or receive from your healthcare professional. So if you do have any medical questions, then please do reach out to your healthcare professional, for example, your GP or your NHS 111 number. CORNWALL CLUB on Coast FM.
Hello guys, my name is Dr. Emeka Okorocha and I'm an emergency doctor working here in London.
Dr. Okorocha, thanks so much. A very warm welcome to the show. I wonder if we could get talking a bit about COVID booster jabs and the importance for younger people in getting these. I've got some of the research in front of me here actually, and it does look as if actually uptake is slightly low in this age group, isn't it, at the moment?
No, 100%. So we know that boosters now give us the best protection against the virus and reduce our risk of serious illness and hospitalization. So it's no surprise that 80% of the eligible adults in England have now had their booster jab. However, when it comes to 18 to 30-year-olds, only 54% of those have actually come forward and been boosted. So we can see that there's a drop when you compare it to the national average of adults in England getting their jab. So we want to call all young people forward to make sure that they're not missing out and they're protecting themselves and getting their booster too.
So, and as a doctor yourself, you must come across this all the time, where I guess younger people might feel like they're a bit invincible and perhaps don't need it. But it must be very sad then if you see those types of people ending up requiring urgent care and things. It must be difficult knowing that actually perhaps some of that could have been preventable, I'm guessing.
100%, it is difficult, and it's disappointing. It could be frustrating at times, especially when you look around the wards in the ICU and then the patients presenting with COVID symptoms. And about 60% of these people are actually unvaccinated, and you just have to wonder what their reasoning and what their choices to remain unvaccinated were, especially considering the circumstances that you meet them in, and considering how easy it is now to get vaccinated and get your booster. It is difficult, but I understand everyone's autonomy and everyone's choice. But you have to know that you're 8 times more likely to end up in a hospital admission with COVID if you're unvaccinated versus whether or not you're vaccinated. So for me, the reasonable thing would make sure that I'm giving myself the most protection I could.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Okorocha. Because, I mean, you do kind of still hear, don't you, about, misinformation being still fairly prevalent out there. I mean, what would you say to someone who is perhaps concerned, might have read something online or perhaps even from a comment from a friend or something? What would you say to someone like that who's kind of hesitant and concerned?
I would say this is very serious information, and this is health information. The same way you wouldn't go to your foot doctor for information on meat from your butchers. You go to the professionals, wouldn't you? You go to the professionals for professional advice. So be careful where you're getting your information, and make sure it's from trusted, reputable sources such as NHS.uk and gov.uk, and from healthcare workers, registered healthcare workers such as myself, other doctors, scientists, virologists, because these are people who have studied information even beyond coronavirus, and so they know what they're talking about. We've read studies, and we also have that anecdotal evidence where I can tell you firsthand how many people under the age of 25 that I've admitted into ICU with COVID. And I can tell you that this isn't a joke. I've announced people unfortunately dead from COVID. So I've seen it firsthand, and I've seen the debilitating effects it can have on patients and families alike. So these are the people you really want to be speaking to get your information.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Okorocha. I think it's absolutely vital that people do take very, very important notice of it. If they're kind of sitting out there and they perhaps haven't been to get boosted yet, then of course it'd be fantastic if they do come forwards. And I think on a separate note, I just think it's just absolutely fantastic to remember. And I don't know if you kind of ever get the chance to kind of stop and reflect a bit. Probably not in your kind of hectic line of work, but just what a fantastic effort has been made so far by doctors such as yourselves and researchers and scientists to actually get the jab to people. I just think it's such a remarkable thing that you've managed to do so far. I think it's really important to reflect and think, that's fantastic. We've done a fantastic job so far.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I think it's a big credit to all the volunteers and all the healthcare workers here and the national healthcare system in itself for making sure that we're active and proactive in this vaccine rollout. I think for me, looking at what we saw last year compared to this year, it's a complete godsend. As in, it's a miracle almost, because we didn't really see much light at the end of the tunnel. Once we were getting so bad during the winter months and we went back into lockdown, I thought, well, this is going to be a case of us locking down every year, isn't it? Unless we have some sort of miracle-saving intervention. And hey, we had the vaccines come along, so here we are.
Oh, fantastic, isn't it? And I wonder at this point, Dr. Okorocha, if we could just kind of, and you've already kind of alluded to these websites already, but I was just wondering in terms of people actually booking on to get the jabs done. You mentioned there's actually a very simple way to get booked on. I wonder if we could just remind people of that, just so they can just, go right ahead and get their booster done.
Yeah, so it's great because now there's so many various ways that you can make sure you get boosted. So you can call 119, or you can book via your GP. You can go to your local pharmacy or your local walk-in centre. If you need more information or to find out where your nearest walk-in centre is, where you can go get your free, easy vaccine, you can go to nhs.uk/COVID vaccine, and all your information will be there.
Oh, Dr. Okorocha, thank you so much. Now, just as a very, very kind of small thank you, of course, if there's anything else that you would like to get across or reiterate, please do that. But just as a very small thank you from us at Coast, I wonder if I can interest you in a cheeky little song request. I know this is very silly, but I just thought if you would like a tune playing for you today, it's the least we can do for you. So would you like a song playing?
Yes, I would, please. First of all, I'd like to encourage everyone to make sure they get their jab. Yourselves, myself, all of us, none of us are invincible to COVID. Even once we've had both our vaccines and our boosters, we still need to make sure we're sensible in preventing contracting COVID. That means, guys, wear your mask, please, social distance where possible, and make sure you're washing and gelling your hands when appropriate. And for me, song request, I think given the current circumstances, could you play Staying Alive by the Bee Gees?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, how fitting. That'd be an absolute pleasure to play it. Thank you very much, Dr. Okorocha. I will let you go, but yeah, thanks again for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much again to Dr. Emeka Okorocha for coming on the show just now. Thank you very much indeed. Pleasure having you. Now, next up, got some more absolutely fantastic guests for you. It's time for Nadia Sawalha alongside Holly Rubin. Now, of course, Nadia Sawalha probably needs no introduction, really. She's very well known on the TV for her work on Loose Women and also on EastEnders, of course. So thank you very much, Nadia Sawalha, for joining us. And to Holly, it's a very, very warm welcome to the show. Do hope we can have you join us again soon. Holly is a psychotherapist, a body image specialist and mental health practitioner based in London. You can find out more about her work and follow her work on Twitter. That's at Holly A. Rubin is her Twitter username there. And all I can say is, look forward to the next 2 song requests. All right, let's get Nadia and Holly on. Cornwall Club on Coast FM.
Hi, Ben. Where are you in Cornwall? I love Cornwall so much.
Hello, Nadia. Yeah, we're down in, near Penzance, actually. So kind of, really far southwest. Do you ever get down here at all, this kind of way in Cornwall?
Every single year I go to Cornwall.
Oh.
I want to live there. I love it so much.
Oh, fantastic.
So, I just feel all like warm and lovely inside just that you're in Cornwall and I'm here. It makes me feel like I might be almost in Cornwall.
Oh, you'll have to drop in and see us when you're next down then. You'll be very welcome.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, well, welcome. Very, very warm welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being with us on Coast today. It's absolute pleasure to have you.
It's lovely to be here.
I'm going to warn you as well. I'm going to have to give you a cheeky song request at the end of the interview, if that's all right with yourself. Just as a very small thank you to coming on the show, if that's all right. So I'll warn you, because then you can be thinking about your favourite song while we're chatting, and then you can drop it at the end.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Awesome. Can I just say as well, because of course we're going to be chatting about, I guess achievable long-term wellness, perhaps in contrast to what a lot of us do try and do at this time of year. But I just wanted to say, first of all, that I thought your Insta post was absolutely hilarious the other day. The kind of replication of the Kardashian selfie, just brilliant. I thought that fits in really well with this theme.
Oh, I tell you, I had a lot of fun doing that. And taking off the sticky back plastic.
Yeah, I can imagine that was quite painful, actually.
Yeah. I suffer for my art.
Well, I thought it kind of fits in just so well, though, because, I mean, I don't know what you're kind of thinking, but I've got some of this, this kind of research in front of me here looking at, people trying to kind of get on board, with fitness this time of year, a lot of New Year's resolutions being made and things like that, and it kind of seems like a lot of us kind of end up kind of giving things up, basically trying things like I guess you might call them fads. It kind of doesn't really seem real, a bit fake, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of your kind of poking fun at that kind of selfie. I thought it was quite fitting, to be honest.
Well, actually, my whole, I hate to say the word journey because it just sounds, journey, but inverted commas journey with all of this is that I started out as a young teen hating the way I looked. And feeling embarrassed about that. I really had a warped way of thinking that went through my entire adult life. I'm now 57. I have been on every diet that man or woman ever conceived. None of them worked. I basically dieted my way to obesity because I would go on a diet, I would look for a shortcut, a quick fix, and what would happen is I would fail, inverted commas, and then I would not only put on the weight that I'd lost, but I would put on more. And this research commissioned by David Lloyd actually doesn't surprise me at all, because 64% of Brits admit that they never see success from the diet and fitness fads that promote this sort of quick fix. That doesn't work. And that the average person will spend over £3,000 on, things like shakes and waist trainers and all this stuff. Now, in our heart of hearts, we know these don't work, but some addictive thing in us reaches for them, and very much at this time of year. It's like a punishment. It's like a terrible punishment for all the fun that we had at Christmas. Whereas my thing is, when we eat at Christmas, we don't eat that like that the rest of the year, do we? So for the first time 2 years ago, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to go back to the way that I was eating before Christmas. I'm not going to go on a diet. It was the most freeing, wonderful thing ever. And so that, along with cutting out the quick fix diets, we also have to be really mindful of the quick fix promises that we're made with fitness. There's so much out there to influence us and to twist our way of our image of ourselves. You know, you really can't have a size 18 waist and a size 62 bottom. It's not actually possible. And so my whole thing with Instagram is to try and show a bit how ludicrous it all is, whilst really having a good laugh and saying to other people, listen, it's okay for us to look however we look, but let's try and be as healthy as we can. So, you know, I don't now have a pizza and go, right, I'm going to run all day tomorrow to get rid of this pizza. No, I have a sustainable way of eating and exercising that will be the same right the way through my life. I exercise doing things that I love. I go to the gym to do weight training. I do yoga at home. I run out in the park. And it's taken me my whole lifetime to find what I could settle with. And I eat food that I really love and is delicious. And that fuels me to have energy and to be present and not to feel anxious and depressed. Because the thing is, quick fixes for mind and body are ineffective. They're just ineffective. And people don't realize that when you find an exercise you like, listen to this, guys, your body makes free legal drugs called, what are they called? Endorphins. And they're delicious, and they really, really buzz you.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Nadia. And Holly, I understand you're with us as well today, so very warm welcome to you. Thanks for joining us as well. Probably really interesting to get your kind of scientific kind of perspective on this as well, in terms of, you know, people clearly do, as Nadia was saying, kind of reach out for those, I guess in their minds they perceive them as quick fixes, where actually obviously the goal is bound to be a bit more sustainable than that, isn't it? You know, long-term wellness. But yeah, it'd be really interesting to get your kind of perspective on this as well.
Absolutely. Well, I really do share Nadia's perspective on this. And what's exciting is that the science does back this. So what this fitness report showed us that David Lloyd put together is just that they, again, not only do these not work, but what they do is ultimately they leave you feeling badly about yourself. And so what happens around this up and down yo-yo dieting is that people see themselves as a failure, as opposed to actually recognizing that it's the diet itself that doesn't work. Our bodies physiologically do not work that way. And in fact, they work against us if the goal is weight loss. So to be able to say we need to shift our minds and shift our perspectives on what we see as health, and that includes both our physical health and our mental health. They're very, very much interlinked. And by feeding ourselves, again, good, healthy, nutritious food that we enjoy, that tastes good, that's not punishing, that will, again, keep us going longer, have the energy to actually get through our day, to enjoy our fitness as just a regular part of our day. Try to get away from that really, really punitive and all or nothing thinking that if I can't go to the gym, well, I might as well just not move. It's absolutely not the case. We sort of want to bring things into moderation. It might not be as glamorous and as sexy, but really moderation is what we're really all after.
Yeah, I mean, that makes so much sense, because I guess what people kind of should be doing really is almost seeing it as part of that journey to achieve, you know, what they want to achieve, whether that be weight loss or, you know, just being a bit more healthy. It kind of sounds like part of that mission, actually. First of all, just try and reframe kind of mentally where you're at and what you are wanting to get out of it, I guess. I mean, that sounds really key, like that kind of reframing it and seeing it in a I guess, slightly more scientific way, like you've been explaining.
Absolutely. And scientific, but also, again, interconnecting, right, with the emotional part of it. How do we feel as humans? How do we want to feel and go through our days? We don't want to feel upset with ourselves for not being able to have, stuck to a routine that might have just been too rigid to begin with. So ultimately, we want to incorporate this into our day-to-day and see this as a sustainable way to live going forward. So going away from all of that diet culture that feeds us that really, really toxic messaging.
My thing at the moment is I heard somebody say this on Instagram a few weeks ago, and I thought, God, that's so good. And it said, slowly is the fastest way to get to your destination. And that is a huge leap for so many of us to make, but it is actually the only way.
Yes.
Because how many times have you tried a quick fix? Have you tried it? I tried it for 30 years. Yeah. So it was very, it wasn't effective. But actually the way that I've been shifting my thought and my approach to stuff over the last few years has worked. All the rest didn't. And I hated myself more, not less.
Absolutely. And actually something that I say to that, Nadia, is that you don't improve your body image by changing your body.
No. When I look back, I look back and I go, oh my God, you're a total babe. You were gorgeous.
Yeah.
Well, I was crying every night.
Yeah.
And now I can say to myself, I'm gorgeous and I feel fantastic inside and out. And when I was the unhappiest I've ever been. So,
yeah. And that's the irony, right? We see these perfect views and perfect visions, thinking that everybody who looks that way is actually so happy inside, but it's not the case.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, I think, to make, isn't it? And because I was wondering, actually, one of my kind of questions was going to be, really, I think it's kind of perfectly on topic. I was just wondering if you had any kind of, I guess, like top tips for people out there who maybe are in that mindset, and how to kind of pull themselves out of it and just get a bit healthier, both physically and mentally. I wonder if you had any, obvious top tips off the top of your head for people.
Yeah,
well,
who's that directed to?
Yeah, mine would be that choose something you enjoy. Commit to it, something small first, and think about how you're going to feel, not how you're going to look, and everything else has fallen into place. That's what I do. That's what works for me. I'm sure Holly's got some good things to say on this.
I'm with you. I say the exact same things. I do the exact same things. And to add to that, I would say something that I really do say a lot, which is, let's put function over form. Let's look at our bodies and not try to focus too much on the appearance and what they look like, but instead what our bodies can do for us. Notice them, appreciate the action and the activity that our bodies do. Yeah. I mean, we can be so hard on ourselves, on them, on other people and their physiques, but let's move away from that.
Yeah,
these bodies are an incredible piece of kit.
Totally.
Wow. They are so extraordinary. When I can almost weep when I think how badly I've treated it, when it was so lovely to me. So now I regularly put my arms around myself. I hug. Where I've got a roll, I squeeze it. And I go, ooh, it actually feels quite nice.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
It's a gorgeous, squidgy body.
Absolutely. And it's so great that you are giving that messaging to this next generation, right? I'm a mother too, and I've got 3 kids and boys and girls, and I'm so aware of this, the noise that's out there. And I'm so afraid about that messaging that they have around what it means and why we have to look a certain way. It's not about that, but it takes so much time to understand that. It really does. We have to understand that it's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's fantastic that you're both, with us today in this ongoing campaign to kind of, help address that. So thank you very much to both of you. I'm away every time. Obviously, I won't keep you too much longer now. But what I wanted to do, if that's okay for both of you, is just to ask if there's, anything else you wanted to either get across, or indeed something to reiterate, or indeed any kind of websites or links that you would like to share that you're absolutely most welcome to.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to find out a bit more about all of what we've been talking about, go to the davidlloyd.co.uk website. Their wellness pledge actually made me feel quite emotional when I read it, because it's so what me and Holly, I think, is where we're coming from. That let's take small steps. I love the way they refuse to use, influencers making like crazy promises. Let's just do this step by step. Make a little pledge to yourself on how you might make small changes today.
Yeah, fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Nadia. And it comes down to then the very last thing, and that's song request for both of you. Can I get you both a song? Because I'd absolutely love to, as a very small thank you.
Yes.
If you got one, then I'll get it on.
I would like Aretha Franklin singing "Each Morning I Wake Up
Oh, nice.
Before I put on my makeup." Please.
I don't think we need to get it on. I think we can just let you sing it, to be honest.
Oh, that's great. Oh, no.
What are you thinking,
Pressure.
Ollie? Yeah, pressure's on now.
Oh, God, all the pressure. I don't know.
I will survive.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. That'll do. Yeah, fantastic. Oh, thank you very much,
Proper
both.
female anthems there.
Oh,
Love
quality.
it. Love that.
Oh, thank you very much, both. Been an absolute pleasure having you on, Coast. Hope you can join us again in the very near future. You're always welcome. But yeah, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Nadia and Holly, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Couple of storming song requests there. Here's the first of two. Welcome back to the studio. It's me, Ben. Hope you're enjoying this show so far. Next, very special guest for you. It's Vet Matt Thomas of Cornish Paws, based right here in Cornwall in Penryn. Now, I've actually asked Matt, you might have heard his interview before actually. He's been on Coast FM with us before. He came to visit me in the studio, chatting all about his life as a vet here in Cornwall. I've actually asked Matt to be a regular guest on the show, so you're going to be hearing from him again very soon. He's going to be giving us a little updates into his practice. So for any pet owners out there, hopefully this can be really useful to you. But that's enough from me for now. Let's get Matt straight on. And here's his update on what's going on at his practice and what life is like as a vet at the moment.
And I guess at this time of year, there's not too many seasonal conditions and diseases. In that respect, it's a fairly quiet time of year in the winter. I guess the main kind of current topic, which everyone is no doubt bored of hearing about, is still kind of coronavirus and how that affects us as vets. In that we're still, so as a practice at Cornish Paws, we're still very much consulting and seeing and dealing with all our clients outside of the practice in a kind of keen way to try and reduce the spread of the virus at the moment, and then bringing all our patients inside to examine them, but leaving owners outside. And I think across the profession, that's probably varied quite a lot now over the last 2 years.
Yeah,
in that that's how most practices immediately changed to that protocol back in March 20. But I think some other practices certainly now have started bringing clients back inside and trying to introduce things like perspex off reception. I know some local practices are just having clients in reception but not in consulting rooms. Some practices are letting clients in consulting rooms but limiting the number of people. I've seen pictures of consult room tables with essentially a big perspex wall divide, in which I personally can't quite imagine working like that. I have visions of scared animals up against a perspex wall, which must be awful. So we, I guess, have been a little bit different in that we have just kept people outside. And the main reason is I found it's worked really, really well. We haven't really had much pushback about it. Certainly means we experience the weather a lot more than we used to in our job. And all of our staff have been supplied with waterproofs. But actually, I think we now do a huge amount of a much higher step count also than we probably used to do running in and outside.
Yes.
But I've found sort of doing that, extending consulting times, we straight away changed from 15 minutes to half an hour per patient. And we didn't push any price increase onto owners either. But we found sort of doing that, it's worked really well. And we still have the time to talk to owners beforehand, examine the patient, go back, go through options and make sure everything's kind of right for everyone involved. And we found that's worked really well. So with the rising numbers we've had recently, we've kind of stuck to our guns on that. That said, we are all very excited at hopefully a not too far away future prospect of inviting everyone back into the practice. but it doesn't feel like the time to do that quite yet.
Yeah, I personally think that that's a really wise move, because I can imagine that it will really just make people feel at ease. They're not going to be worrying, sitting there thinking, okay, do I need to take my pet in, or should I just be careful and try to avoid coronavirus spread? I can see that kind of getting tangled up in people's minds. But if they know, right, it's outside, it's fine, you can come along, you're not going to be contributing. There is, very minimal risk indeed. I think people are going to be really reassured and actually come along and think, they're not going to be contributing, are they? They can still get that experience that they need for their animals. But yeah, they can rest assured, I think.
Yeah, and that's certainly been the lion's share of our lovely client base. Actually, it seems to have worked really, really well. And I don't know, it's kind of odd now, isn't it? We're almost used to working like that. But like I say, it certainly means that we put in a lot more time and steps, so and get wet a lot more often as well. So it's not uncommon in bad weather. I kind of keep owners in their cars and we get wet and talk through the window and try and avoid our customers getting wet where we can. But I mean, we did other things as well. I suppose we got a nice big wooden gazebo up in the courtyard, so we had some shelter. We got a perspex window through to reception, so owners can still talk to reception from outside. We put a roof on that as well, because we didn't like seeing people get wet. So it's just trying to kind of do everything we can, isn't it, to make it as comfortable for everyone. But I guess the most common kind of concern with that is people with anxious animals being anxious that they won't be with their anxious patient during an examination. And personally, that's a kind of keen interest of mine, is trying to make sure our patients feel at ease and don't get too scared at the vets. And back in the days of having owners in, a big part of that battle was trying to reduce how much owners were attempting to reassure our patients, because actually, a bit like with children, if you make a huge fuss about what's going to happen, then the patient, the animal or the child is going to get terrified about what's about to happen. And if we do all that a bit more blasé, then actually all anxiety levels reduce. So because of that, we've found actually more often than not, bringing patients in without their owners has actually kept everyone a lot more relaxed. We've had far less kind of trouble off the back of that, which has been really, really nice. Which at least is one small positive for what's going on.
I guess it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, it's almost like, that classic saying, leave it to the professionals, but clearly you know how to handle an anxious animal. You're used to dealing with that. So, I mean, you can certainly tell from your, I love following your Facebook pictures, and you routinely post, pictures of very happy looking dogs and things like that. You can tell they don't look scared at all. I think they're totally relaxed.
Well, I think it's funny, isn't it? I think people kind of obviously seem worried that we take their animal in and we're going to do something mean, but no one in our profession does it because they dislike animals. It's quite the opposite. So that's the other thing, is we pretty much get unadulterated cuddles with all the young puppies and kittens coming in. The staff absolutely love it. So yeah, there's nothing staged about those pictures. That can be our typical day on a good day. Certainly. Have
you seen, I don't know if it's probably a bit, I don't know, but perhaps we've kind of passed the time when this was I guess there was a big boon from what a layperson sees, a big boon in people looking, at least, to take on new animals, new pets, new dogs and things into their homes. I guess over coronavirus period, I guess people were thinking about that a bit more. I don't know if you've seen that in your practice, lots of new animals being, coming along. I don't know if that's something you've experienced or not.
Yeah, hugely. I mean, a huge boom in pet ownership throughout coronavirus. I'd say a lot more people staying at home and deciding to kind of get pets as companions. So there was a huge number of extra puppies and kittens throughout that. I think that has started to slow down now. But that got really high at one point. There was a big
Cornwall Club on Coast FM.
The prices we were seeing people pay for puppies in the last 2 years massively exceed what's gone before that. And of course then that leads to an increase in people breeding, because there's a supply and demand issue, and that isn't always the best thing, because that obviously leads to a certain amount of irresponsible breeding as well. But it does seem to have slowed down, which I think is probably a good thing. For sure. But equally, I don't think it's been an entirely bad thing either. I think, we've definitely seen lots of families that have taken on a pet that maybe wouldn't have otherwise, and are quite clearly, loving the whole process, and pet and owners thoroughly happy and smitten with the new relationship. So certainly not necessarily a bad thing, but it did seem to get perhaps a little out of hand at one point, certainly.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Quite worrying from a vet's perspective, really seeing that going on. I guess just hoping that people are being responsible, making sure they're doing the right research and all this kind of thing. I was just thinking as well whether it would be worth. And obviously, this is probably quite a large topic, probably not something you can cover just so briefly. But I was wondering whether you'd see any value at all in just reminding people out there, if they are thinking of getting a new dog or a new kitten, getting a puppy or kitten in their life, what are the kind of steps that you would need to go through to make sure that they're properly registered and looked after at a vets like yourselves? I mean, I guess there might be something just to remind people about that. Obviously, that is a big part of taking on a new pet. You need to make sure that you're going to be doing everything right.
Yeah, and I think it does probably vary quite a lot from a kitten to a puppy, and then certainly within dogs, which breed makes quite a big difference probably as well. But I guess the two big things that I think people don't always consider is the time involved and the costs involved as well.
Sure.
The kittens, cats generally perhaps a little bit less in terms of time. I mean, kittens certainly still need lots of time to play and a bit of attention, but as cats turn into adults, if they've got access to outside through a cat flap, there's that old saying, isn't it? Dogs have owners and cats have staff, and I think that can be quite true. Cats can look after themselves quite well with regular feeding and checks, but you can go out to work and work an 8 to 10 hour day and leave a cat at home quite happily. They're not going to mind at all. Whereas that's certainly not the same if a dog can't, be expected to kind of cross their legs for that sort of length of time. I guess that's the biggest problem where people have been working from home and then have been changing.
Yes.
And yeah, just cost, just trying to do some simple sums, maybe having a chat to a vet, whether that's us or anyone else. And we're always more than happy to go through these things on the phone, just trying to get a little bit of a feel for the sorts of costs of treatment or insurance. From our point of view, is always a great thing. I don't think it's necessarily for everyone, but I think, it's always a bit frustrating if we're in a situation with a sick pet and we're limited by how we can treat them due to costs, and pet insurance can negate that, can mean that's just not an issue. So we can just choose the best course of treatment rather than worrying about the costs of treatment. But I mean, even simple things like, just working out what's this animal going to cost me to feed every month and provide regular flea and worming. And, I think those sorts of costs are often a little bit more than people have considered if they've not just done a little bit of research.
Yeah.
It's always about, isn't it, just kind of gathering all that information and just sort of knowing what you're taking on. It's all too easy, isn't it, to just see a cute kitten and pick them up in a day and then realise that, you've taken on something that's hopefully going to be a 15 to 20 year commitment. But often, just thinking it through. I mean, we're all guilty of not always thinking everything through, aren't we? But the difference is then there's a pet's life to consider as well. And they don't get to choose where they go. So it's nice to think that it's always been considered before they're taken on.
Yeah, brilliant points. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, I think that's just a great reminder, really. If anyone is, has been tempted, seeing their friends perhaps getting a new kitten or something, and then might be tempted themselves. But yeah, that's always good to consider, isn't it? So, I think, Matt, I won't keep for too much longer just on this appearance, and hopefully we will convince you to come back very soon indeed to give us another update. But I'm thinking it's probably time. And obviously this is all part of the recording, so this is going to be going out, Matt. There's no escape from this. It's song request time. And I believe you said you've actually had some help this time, right? Let's hear it.
Well, I had to speak to my main advisor, which is Morgan, my 6-year-old son. And he does have a favourite track, which is by a band called The Far North, on their debut album, which I'm going to shamelessly plug as an album called Songs for Gentle Souls. The guy in the band, Lee Wilding, is a really, really, really old friend of mine. I used to be a drummer in a band many years ago, but I'm glad to say he has progressed immensely since then. And one of the tracks on that album is called Grace. It's definitely by far and away my son's favourite song. We like to put it on in the car and belt it out loudly. So hopefully that's a track your listeners can enjoy as well.
Perfect. Sure, yeah, absolutely. How nice is that tune? Tune called Grace by The Far North, requested by vet Matt Thomas just now. Matt, storming choice there, actually. I wonder if we're going to be getting any more requests from the same album. Might do on a future show. Matt is going to be returning very soon. But you know what? It's the end of another show. I can't quite believe it. I'm very sorry. Going to have to love you and leave you. I can't believe it. I can't believe it either. I know. It's awful, isn't it? Anyway, I just want to thank very much all of my very special guests this week. Thanks to Nadia Sawalha, thanks to Holly Rubin, and thanks to Vet Matt Thomas, and thanks to Dr. Emeka Okorocha as well. Hope you can join me again next Wednesday from 6 here on Coast. But for now, it's bye from me, and I'll leave you with a little cheeky tune. Here you are. Bye!